Hey, this is Owen. If you're comfortable, leave your first name and state at the sound of the tiny truck backing up.
Hi, this is Amanda. I'm from Texas. And first off, I want to say I really appreciate all the work you're doing on YouTube. I really enjoy your channels. And my question is, around where I'm living at, they are saying that in September that the Democrats are going to be releasing a new form of COVID that's supposed to block people from going to the polls. I just want to see if anybody else has heard about this or if this is just some thing that they're making up around here in Trumpville. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, that's really interesting. I haven't heard that one before. It does not surprise me, though. If anybody's heard that, let me know in the comments. This is where these conspiracies start, though. Small town Trumpville. This is where they start. And then small town Trumpville people get on the internet and spread it like wildfire. It's obvious, complete nonsense from the ground up, but they're willing to believe anything that vindicates their God Emperor. And I don't use that term flippantly. They call him Geotus, Geotus, God Emperor of the United States. They really do call him that. So anyway, disturbing stuff, disturbing way of viewing the world. Does not surprise me that you're hearing things like that. Good luck in Trumpville.
Hey, Owen, this is Kaya from California. First of all, love your work. Secondly, my question is, what is the actual difference, according to Jehovah's Witnesses, between calling themselves one of Jehovah's Witnesses and a Jehovah's Witness? Because to me, it seems like a distinction without a real difference. To me, they kind of effectively mean the same thing. What do you think their reasoning is? Thanks.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Really interesting question. And the answer is, effectively, there is no difference, but they are trying to frame up every part of the way that their people view things. Everything. They want to control your entire perspective on the world. And saying a Jehovah's Witness isn't making it real. By calling yourself one of Jehovah's Witnesses, you are identifying yourself with this other person, with this other being, and making him more real in your mind. That's kind of the angle they take it from. Now, alone, just that one thing probably wouldn't make a difference, really, but it's a combination of every single thing in your life that they want to control, just like that. There are a billion little things like that they do. And when all those little things add up, they add up to a complete personality change, which is their intent. They call it the new personality, putting on the new personality. That is the goal. Pretty crazy stuff.
Shane from Virginia again. So I have another question. What questions would you ask a theist upon discussion of religion, to understand where their viewpoints are from? What are some base questions, for instance, are you a creationist? Do you believe in the flood? Do you believe in the Bible literally? What kind of questions can we ask to get the full understanding of these people? Thank you. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Well, what I've done personally, this may not be of value to somebody who's just trying to get a list of questions, but I know a lot about Jehovah's Witnesses and Mormonism and Catholicism and Protestantism and all of the various different forms of Protestantism and, all of it. I know a lot about all this stuff. So what I'll do personally is I will ask basic questions to separate them into categories like, do they believe in the Trinity? If they believe in the Trinity, then I know they fall into one of these few categories. They're probably a Catholic or certain types of Protestant. Do they speak in tongues? If they speak in tongues, that's separating them out even further. Do they practice faith healing? I'll narrow it down to figure out if they're a Calvinist or a Pentecostal or a Jehovah's Witness or a Mormon or a Catholic or whatever else. And that usually informs my perspective on them and the ideas that they have on the world and the angle from which I will argue or debate, or not even debate, but maybe just try to help reason them out of the crazy beliefs that they have. What I've come to find is, for the most part, people in the U.S. right now are either an evangelical, like an extremist nutcase who loves Donald Trump, or one of the smaller branches of Protestantism, like Jehovah's Witnesses or Mormonism or something, or they're Catholic. It's usually one of those three. Or they're a chill, reasonable, calmed down, don't hate anybody for anything, like a Methodist or a Lutheran branch. That tends to be what I've found in society nowadays. All of these other branches are still out there, but I feel like the extremist evangelical branch is kind of gobbling up all of the smaller ones at the moment.
Hi, Owen. This is Daniel from California. I just want to wish you a happy 33rd birthday. And also...
Yeah, appreciate that. 33rd birthday was on July 20th, 2022. This voicemail is just a little bit older, but it's still valid. It's an interesting voicemail, so I wanted to listen to it anyways. Thank you for the happy birthday.
And also, I just wanted to comment on one of your recent videos where Stephen Lett says that babies are enemies of God.
Yeah, let me give some context to that real quick. Just play that clip so people know what he's talking about. This came out late June 2022. This is a governing body member of Jehovah's Witnesses. Name is Stephen Lett, and he said some weird, disturbing stuff about babies.
Now, if we think about it, we're not born as friends of God because we're born as sinful offspring of Adam. Actually, if we think about it, we're born as enemies of God. Sometimes you'll hear people say of a little baby, "Look at that little angel." But more accurate would be to say, "Look at that little enemy of God."
That's the clip that the voicemail caller was referencing. So with that under our belt, let's keep listening.
Actually, to be honest, it doesn't really surprise me because growing up Catholic, the Catholic Church taught more or less the same thing, that babies are born with original sin unless they're baptized. And the interesting point about that is that the story of Adam and Eve is so important, so essential to Christianity, that they always have to find a way to preserve it, even though the story of creationism and the story of Adam and Eve has been completely proven false. Anyway, I hope you had a good birthday. Love your show. Bye.
I did have a pretty good birthday. I appreciate the phone call. Yeah, it is interesting, isn't it, that these people always have to preserve the Adam and Eve story, because if they don't have Adam and Eve, then the whole thing falls apart. That is a good point. They have to have original sin, or it all falls apart. Everything that these people believe from the ground up is bizarre, and it's all based on nonsense. And when you look at it in the cold light of day, I don't know how you can see it as anything else.
Hi, my name is Liv and I'm from Minnesota, and I was just wondering why still a lot of churches believe in the Trinity, despite the fact that it's false. I mean, the church that I'm kind of, forced to go to kind of says that, Jesus is God and stuff, even though they admit it themselves that it doesn't make any legitimate sense. It doesn't seem right that they would practice it, even though they themselves think that doesn't make any sense, or there's nothing backing it up. Thanks. Hope you have a great day.
Yeah, I appreciate the voicemail. It's an interesting point. Here's the timeline of events. Around 70 CE, so roughly 40 years after Jesus died, the book of Mark was written. Matthew is estimated to have been written between 80 and 90 CE, which means roughly 50 to 60 years after Jesus died. Luke, somewhere in that same time period. John was way later. He was not a contemporary with Jesus, like, not even close. Like, none of them really were, as far as we know. We don't know who wrote the Gospels. It was not Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. But John absolutely couldn't have been. Whoever wrote that couldn't have been a contemporary. John was based off of the other Gospels. But the guy who wrote John had the idea that Jesus was God incarnate. He came along and changed things to make it look like Jesus was God, even though the original writers didn't believe that, and Jesus himself didn't believe that. They still wrote it that way because they wanted people to think that, and it carried on from there. That's where the Trinity came from. It was not believed by basically anybody up until 200 years after the Bible was written. It was based on the previous Gospels, and it changed things and added things that we know to be unequivocally false. It is the least reliable gospel out of any of the four, and the person that wrote it believed things that the others did not believe, and we're trying to kickstart that. That's basically the whole thing. So, you know that story where Jesus says, he who's without sin cast the first stone? That's fake. That never happened. That was not cited in any of the other gospels or any other sources. That was added way later. Complete fabrication. So, and that's in the book of John. That's what we find all the way through the book of John. A lot of the stuff is fabrication. It's just not reliable at all, and we have no reason to believe it. So the book of John is where it says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Complete fabrication.
As you can see, I have officially enabled channel memberships. I enabled it on my main channel, on the Fireside chat, and on my Unfiltered channel as well. And I also created a new channel where I read books. That's going to be pretty interesting. I've only uploaded one video, and it's short. It's only 10 minutes long or so. Telltale Reads is the name of it. I'm going to be doing more of that stuff soon, and I think what I'm going to be reading next, I'm not going to read the QAnon one first, and the reason is because I don't want, when I go up for monetization by YouTube in a month or two, I want to be able to, I want to have stuff on there that's monetizable, so I'm going to read Greg Locke's book about, I think it's called This Is War, and it's about how he believes that he's at war with blah, 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 you know. So anyway, that's going to be pretty interesting. In fact, I'm going to start that one on Tuesday, I think.